Okay, let's talk about this movie, Field of Dreams. It is coded to the core, and it's going to show us right here on this jacket cover or billboard ad for the movie that it's exactly what I'm talking about. Their coded symbols here are going to actually be in my drawings, 100%. And, you know, it's just something you have to experience like I'm experiencing and realize, even to the agents, realize I'm real. What's happening is real. You're all being given the opportunity to see that it's real and to ponder in your mind how this is being done. I've already told you, and you guys just want to deny and think that there's some sort of made up something behind, who I am. Nope. I'm simply who I say I am. I'm a construction worker, an artist, a skateboarder, a bodybuilder, a friend, a philosopher, a poet, and a devout follower of Jesus Christ. All of that. I'm not ashamed. Never going to be ashamed. This is given to me for a reason. It's given to me for your eyes. And that's talking to everyone, including the agents. You guys are supposed to see this just as much as everyone else is, if not even more. Jesus Christ commands that his true disciples are supposed to go unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And we know who believes themselves to be of this house of Israel, these northern 10 tribes. We know. And then, of course, these agents are a part of that philosophy. They're a part of that doctrine. This is why they fight against this so hard. In reality, they don't fight against me, because it's not me that's doing this. They fight against the spirit of truth. And how they fight against the spirit of truth is with lies, deception, all of this faking and pretending. There's no way to win against the spirit of truth like that. There's no way to win at all. And if you've got anything other than what the reality of the spirit of truth is, Jesus Christ, you're not going to win anyway. So I don't see where anybody has any sort of logic that is hoping to upset a truth with a lie. Just don't happen. And this time the lies are coming down. And through the sight that's been given me, I'm going to do my best to keep bringing them down. So the movie, Field of Dreams. Check this jacket cover out, and we'll see what they're actually conveying here. To see the jacket cover, go to my playlist, and you'll see a playlist titled Coded Movies, Wheat, Israel, Moon, something like that. And when you open the playlist up, you're going to see 2 clips from the movie Field of Dreams itself. Open up the one with James Earl Jones on the front, and then you'll see this jacket cover or movie billboard ad show up. And the symbolism here you're going to see is exactly what has been revealed on this channel. It's going to show you without a doubt, and there's a couple of things that I need to show you here that are going to blow your mind if you're real. The cross legs, and then here we have Ray, the coded name Ray, with the cross legs right here, Shinar, and then it just gets better. There's the inverted triangle, all right, and keep in mind, here's the inverted triangle, the birthing point, right, and we know who they're trying to birth out, all right, we know who they're trying to birth out, this dark prince who is portraying himself as this bringer of the light. In other words, our light Ray here. Now this is really shocking, and I'm kind of talking nonchalant and casually about this, but in reality, if I had not already been through a 2-year journey on this channel of building up to this information, I probably would not even be able to talk about this. It's just too much to realize for me that this has already been given me 20 years ago, and all the details here, and it's going to be manifested in my understanding and your understanding right here. So let's go ahead and just simply break down exactly what we're seeing here before we move forward. And to do this, let's remember Revelation chapter 12, the woman, and then we know the symbolism for the woman is the inverted triangle. So here we have the connection with Israel, the woman of Revelation 12, in association with this ray, which is really going to be in association with Enki. And then here we have the moon. I want you to notice, of course, the cross legs. Like I said, it fulfills my drawing of who the villain is, the super villain. And then I want you to see these little line of trees that go across the top. Now there's more information about the trees that I'm going to talk about later, even the number of trees that's being shown in the billboard. But at this point, I want you to see my drawing. Another drawing that I did. Here we have our little man in the moon suit here with the rocket, just like in all my other drawings, is showing this rocket that they are going to bring from the moon. This little area that you see where his little stand and rocket is on is going to be the moon. Here are our very same trees that are coded right here into this movie billboard. And then of course we've got our little camel. And when I show you guys this later, what this camel means biblically: journey, travel, nomads, water storage, everything that's happening with what they're doing to the moon and the connection with them bringing water to the moon, and then even the images that we see where they're beginning to terraform the moon and there's trees on it. I want you to see this little exit door, all right? And then this is the exit in which they are going to. Notice this, there's a little bit of destruction that is showing on this exit door right here. And guys, when we talk about Hosea a little longer, I hope that some of these people that are involved in this plan can realize that the Spirit of Truth is even revealing to them that they're about to make a grave mistake. Notice right above here, we have an image of another man in a moon suit. It simply says USA, NASA, Unreal. And when I drew this drawing, I kind of, for whatever reason, was reading a book about these Dogon cave art reliefs, and they had something about a crab claw man that these Dogon tribesmen had encountered way back in their history. Well, for whatever reason, this crab claw man struck an image with me of the gloves that these astronauts were wearing in modern times. And I just drew this out as a guy in a moon suit. And then we know that the timing with Cancer, in which we're about to come into, guys, June 21st through July 22nd, there is a great probability that the second cup will be fulfilled during this time with a faint meteor or asteroid, something to that effect, that causes major devastation on the east coast of the United States, centered at New York City. So our crab claw man, everything here is already fulfilled. As I've discovered this and looking back through all of my old drawings, they're all coded to tell you the same thing. Everything is there. So let this be a warning to everyone on both sides of the coin here, that the sight that I've been given is true. And you should realize that if this sight is true, then the message about Jesus Christ that I reveal is true, because it's the Spirit of Truth that has given me this truth. You guys don't understand the Bible. You don't understand prophecy. You don't understand Scripture at all. You've been duped. This is happening, and I'm going to continue. I don't care about your death threats. I don't care about anything that you do. All I care about is fulfilling the task that I've been given, and I'm going to do that. This was given to me not because I was going to fail, not because I was in fear, but because I was going to move forward through it all with no fear. And that's exactly what's happening. And keep in mind, I'm going to talk about the latest death threat that was given to me by Lady Stonecut, who has another identity of who we'll talk about later. And then through these people, or this person, we can connect all of the other shadow agents on this channel as one thing. And you'll see that through this war of words that they're losing, and it's really due to their own fault, of course, in many ways. One of them is that they're pretending, and pretenders aren't ever going to be able to overthrow the truth. If you've got to pretend behind something that you're not, there's just no way to be able to contend. In a miraculous way. So now let's just simply real quick here, this is not going to be a long video. I have got something amazing to show you with this plane of Charon that's going to come out of this book, which is going to convey the very same information, very same thing, even fulfilling words of Jesus Christ talking about the Leviathans going from hot to cold. It's all here. It's all here. So let's just start and just quickly read over Rev 12 again so that you understand about this woman, so that you can see that this is all coded telling you the same thing. Now remember, the inverted triangle is a birthing point, and I've told you that they are trying to birth someone out in a physical image. Notice that the legs are crossed, right? Because it symbolizes that crooked serpent. And then here is the Spirit of Truth's fulfillment as it gave me this very same understanding. Amazing. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Let's go ahead and read here. The woman Israel, the woman clothed with the sun and the man-child. Don't forget Zechariah chapter 5 describing that ephod being lifted up with the storks, which symbolizes childbirth. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. Now look what's right up under there, Satan. And then we know that the symbolic titles that are given to these deceptive ones, and I want you to see the S on the chest, or the S on the cape right here for Satan, and then the crooked step. But really, the symbolism is going to go back to who Lucifer and Satan has deceived on this world, which is known as our planetary prince. And that planetary prince is known as Enki. He himself fell to this deception. So this Enki is the one who Lucifer and Satan, through this science of theirs, through this knowledge that they have given the daughters of man from Genesis 6, that have then entrusted this knowledge into their lineage that has come the Elites, the illuminated, those that believe themselves to be a part of this northern Israel. So this is who they're trying to birth out. And it's got the same crooked, crossed legs right here. It's just, just unreal. Unreal. I'm humbled. I'm humbled beyond belief. Beyond belief. So now we see Revelation chapter 12, the woman going to the moon. There's a symbolism for the moon. There's the trees, which even further relate back to them, even further relates to Israel itself being symbolized as a tree. And the count on these will come into play in the next videos that I do concerning more about this. And if you look at the jacket, they've got this circle back here, and then this kind of night dark sky around it in this silhouette. They're telling you that that's the moon. Fulfillment. 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 There's our moon. Okay. There is our trees on the moon. And then here is our supervillain with a crooked step. When I realized that, just, you better believe that, I tell you, you better believe that I'm real. What's been given to me is real. All right, Field of Dreams is really telling you in the title, it's the Field of Charon, which is going to relate back to that land of Shinar, or the plain of Shinar. All of it is just different descriptions of the moon in particular conditions. So the Field of Dreams movie, it has a popular tagline, and it says, build it and they will come. All right, let me show you something real fast here. Verse 11, and then you have to think about the 11 is the gate, and he said unto me to build it and an house in the land of Shinar, the moon, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base. Now this is all about that woman, Zechariah chapter 5, and the ephah, and that wickedness that's with it, and they're going to the moon. So we can see right here that the prophet Zechariah is easily describing the exact same thing that the Spirit of Truth has given to me, that this is that wickedness that they are bringing to the moon. Right there. All right. Now, there's something, it's not necessarily that they're bringing he himself to the moon in his physical embodiment. It's deeper than that, but you just have to understand the scripture that describes Israel, the woman who is with child, is travailing and ready to give birth. All right, and then we'll have to talk about that further. But notice the slogan and the tagline, and here's the fulfillment right from the Bible: to build it. And then we know that their slogan with this, build it and they will come. Now, who the they is they're talking about is the remnant, false Israel. We have discovered in the latest few series that this corn is really talking about wheat. And we've even seen how Jesus Christ even describes this wheat as a kernel of corn. We know that it's all about the separation of the wheat and the tares. It's going to even connect up to the third eye, the pineal gland, as we move forward in this series. So as you see in the movie, Build It and They Will Come, this huge cornfield, it's really about this wheat. It's about the division of the wheat and the tares, the false wheat that's under the hallucination of LSD. They're so hallucinated that they're actually about to commit mass murder on this planet, and they all think that it's for the good. Murder. There is no murder for the good. Not of the innocent, friends. Not of anyone. Murder is wicked. It's a wicked act. So Israel, false Israel, thinks that it's the wheat / corn, the code for the movie fulfilled. The pineal gland is about the size of a grain of corn. This is going to symbolize further with their understanding of how they believe themselves to be sealed. But if you understand my charts about how the division of the brain and the crossing of the line of sight, and then what it means to put Jesus upon the cross, we're fulfilled with the sight of the Spirit of Truth. So the true sealing is of the living God, not this dead God that's being pulled from the land of the dead, that they themselves are having to work by their occult magic, being the wizards and witches on the higher orders that they believe themselves to be, to do this great work. So the field of dreams, this word dreams at the end, is going to fulfill and unify all of this other information. But let's just take it quite simply right now that dreams is associated with sleep. And it's so funny because these people consider themselves being awake. But you all know the plain truth is that you must be asleep to dream. These people are the true sleepwalkers. These are the true dreamers that are talked about in the book of Jude, that is even described as these filthy dreamers. Not in the sense that dreams are filthy, but dreams that are filled with visions and ideas of murdering masses amounts of innocent people in this world because of some adheration to some dead letter, some doctrine that says it so. That's what the dead letter means. People that are indoctrinated and so blind that they'll throw away what real morality is because of some written word that has already been deceived in our ancient past. So this field of dreams, this field of Shinar, you know, that the moon is associated with nighttime. It's associated with the time when people sleep. It's associated when the time with people dream. Now it's going to come up to darkness, and it's going to come up to the dark side of the moon. This darkness is going to fulfill our word ephah from Zechariah 5, which actually is literally translated darkness. This is going to further grow into the understanding of this wheat, which has been infiltrated by this darkness. And then that darkness is being presently understood as this thing called ergot, which is connected to a black cancerous growth that is actually growing on this wheat. And we see that this wheat itself that is going to the moon in this ephah related as darkness is the one that has this cancerous dark growth growing on it that we know is associated with this philosophy of the Dark Prince, which is perfectly symbolized in this birthing moment right here of the inverted triangle. It's perfectly symbolized. So there's an inverse of action. Their light is truly darkness. They themselves are the ones who are really asleep. And in this understanding of going to the dark side of the moon is going to be further fulfilled as we look at that book there. Let's wings like the wings of a stork. They lifted up the ephod between the earth and the heaven. So the wings of the stork further going to symbolize the birthing moment that we saw in Rev 12, further symbolized with the inverted triangle. And now we know who they believe they're going to birth out is this Ray individual who you could rightly connect with Ra, and then you can connect back to that all-seeing eye. All of this will further relate to the prince of this world who has been entrusted by those above him to bring about this new order or this new dominion on this world. It goes by the name of Enki, the Nahesh, the serpent. So it's all right there, guys. Now all we have to do is tie it up from another source of information to understand how deep this really goes. Let me go ahead and read the first portion of this chapter here. We're going to talk about now, what you're going to hear about is monatomic gold. If you've watched the series Ye Are Gods, you will understand its connection to the manna that Moses was ordering the children of Israel to eat, that really was from an Egyptian temple, an Egyptian refinery, a laboratory on the top of Mount Cerebit, aka Mount Sinai, the shining one or the illuminated one. That's what this Mount Sinai literally means. The root of sin is within that word, which connects us further back to the Babylonian moon god, just like you're seeing everywhere around you. So in this instance, we're going to see the fractal fulfilled. The science that's going to be talked about is not about Israel, okay, on the surface, but you see it's going to reflect perfectly about what's happening and what Israel believes it's going to happen to it in this deityship, this godhead, this illumination that it's going to become. But when we see the science being talked about, this science is going to be talked about how this gold, this metal, is transmutated using electricity, high heat, that will transmute it into this monatomic powder that is associated with this alternate dimension known as the field of Sharon. So as you listen, I'll explain later how the science relates further, but it should come clear as we move forward. The plane of Sharon. So what precisely is the highward condition that converts gold and other noble metals into the impalpable white misketh, powder of the paradise stone? And what exactly was its advantage when ingested by the ancient kings of the House of Gold in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and later Judea? Now remember, I call these kings the serpent kings, and it goes all the way back, where it moves forward in time from ancient Babylonia to Egypt, forward in time all the way up until we get to these Judean kings, which are best symbolized with Solomon being supposedly the most wisest man on earth. This wisdom that Solomon has is nothing but the serpent wisdom that is coded into the architecture of his temple, of which we see these secret societies displaying within their coded avatars, and even their propaganda that you're going to see all over the place if you can just wake up and keep your eyes open to see it all. So we're talking about the manna, this monatomic gold that was being created in a powder-like state, which is the manna that Jesus Christ had clarified that Moses did not give the children of Israel the true manna, that the manna that he gave was false manna, and that those that ate it are dead. And this death will continually be fulfilled by anybody that has the idea that this gold is going to be able to bring you anything in the way of a spirit eternity. All right, so now let's read here. When perfectly correlated, the electrons turn to pure white light and becomes impossible for the individual atoms in the high spin substance to hold together. On that account, They cannot retain the metallic state, and the substance falls apart to become a white monatomic powder. Now that's describing how the gold turns into powder from this singular solid state, its metallic state. Now the process goes further. In simple terms, the white powder is created by striking the metal sample under strictly controlled conditions for a predetermined time with a designated high heat from a DC electric arc. Now remember the columns of Jachin and Boaz with the arc or the bow, the royal arch that goes over top of them. All of this is connected between electrodes and electricus on that mode of thinking. But there's deeper still here. So with a designated high heat from a DC electric arc, a single directional current between two electrodes. But the truly unusual thing about the powder is that through continuous sequences of heating and cooling. Now there's the fulfillment of Jesus Christ's words that says that you can either be hot or cold. But if you were lukewarm, both together, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, in other words, a Leviathan, that he's going to spew you out. And spewing is in his water word, that these Leviathans will be spewed out of his water word. So this heating and cooling is described further by inducing this metal sample to this electrical charge, and it's stating that the powder, or through continuous sequences of heating and cooling, its weight will rise and fall to hundreds of % above its optimum weight, down to less than absolutely nothing. Moreover, its optimum weight is actually 56% of the metal weight from which it was transmuted. So where does the other 44% go? Well, it goes to the land of Shinar. It goes to this moon. It becomes nothing but pure white light and translates into a dimension beyond the physical plane. In other words, what they call their heaven, which is interpreted to us beyond the physical plane, the spirit abode, but their heaven beyond the physical plane is going to be the moon. It will be this Zion. The dimension of the orbit of light, as we know, the moon in this orbit, its connection to the reflection of the light of this unseen sun, which to them represents this Enki, which is further represented in its fullness as Lucifer, the light bearer. The dimension of the orbit of light, which the ancients called the plane of Charon, or the field of Mezkeft. Now, I'm pronouncing this completely wrong, as I do a lot of other words, but this is basically unpronounceable. So this field of Mizkeft is really talking about this field of the golden ones that's associated with this monatomic gold, and even Israel believing itself to achieve this crown of glory. So the field of Mizkeft is going to be in association with our field of dreams. So it says, at the zero weight stage, not only does the substance become invisible and weigh less than nothing, but the pan in which it sits also registers less than its starting weight. This conforms precisely with the Alexandrian text, which states that when placed in the scales, the paradise stone can outweigh its quantity of gold, but when it is converted to dust, even a feather will tip the scales against it. Interesting. So we can see that even something as small as a feather is going to be able to tip the scales against these that are achieving their supposed light. Interesting. It's all right there fulfilled in the fractal. Here's something that's going to come to play further in some videos in the future here. So it describes this 56% that is in a sense left behind when the 44% is transmutated into a dimension that can't be seen. Now the 56% is going to fulfill with this temple of Baalbek, and you know that it's located within the cedars of Lebanon. This temple of Baalbek is another play in the understanding of Solomon's wisdom knowledge. But this temple of Baalbek even has a greater understanding because its original creation is for a rocket pad. The Baalbek temple is how they were achieving their flight back and forth into the heavens, more importantly, the moon. If you know something about the Temple of Baalbek, that in its origination it had 56 columns. So the 56% that is left behind, while the 44% vanish, is going to be symbolized by the 56 columns that are left at this supposed temple, while the 44% go up in their field of dreams into this rocket. Now, all of this talking about the association of it becoming pure white light is connected to Lucifer being the light bearer and all of this other stuff. But in reality, they're on the dark side of the moon. In reality, they're in connection to the dark prince. In reality, the third eye is connected to melatonin, which is secreted. He fulfills himself as this darkness, but as he fulfills himself as the light bearer, this brightness blocks out their sight. The supposed reflection of this understanding of the melatonin being secreted is stopped. Their sight is not given to them. Their supposed powers that they think that they're going to have that's associated with this third eye cannot be fulfilled with this blinding white light of this light bearer, because what he brings is this brightness. The melatonin cannot be secreted, therefore their third eye is not opened like they think. But here's what happens to us. Remember, I say that it's lights out when they flip the switch. Think about a light switch on a wall. When they flip the switch, they cause this destruction here. It's lights out here. So they leave all these people here in darkness. Now the understanding of the melatonin fulfills for us. We will be enhanced when this goes down. Our spirit understanding, our spirit sight will be increased. Just like you see the fractional understanding of the lesser reflection of the melatonin being secreted in darkness, we being left behind are going to be left in dark. Therefore, our sight will be increased by the Spirit of truth in these grave times ahead. And it's even said in the Bible. It's even said in the Bible that we'll be strengthened against these times. So the 44% now represents who? It represents who you know has founded the United States, which is further connected to this tribe of Ephraim, which is further connected to the unification of these nations, which are all a part of this occult philosophy, this huge secret propaganda to destroy us, remove themselves to this moon area, their fallout shelter, as you'll hear it described in the song Bye Bye Miss American Pie. And then they plan to come back with their king and usher in their supposed golden age. It's all right there, guys. It's all right there. So there's more to talk about with the third eye, the association of the melatonin, how they're really being duped into this light bearer. They go to this darkness, but to reveal this ray. This ray is associated with the blinding, glaring light. This blinding, glaring light, once you fulfill the fractal, will cut off their supposed illumination as it's connected to the opening of their third eye. It's going to stay shut. It's going to stay shut, guys. So I know that was a lot of information to take in. Even when I threw in the understanding of Baalbek, how it's going to mirror the 56% that stays behind, and then the 44% plans on going. You know that Israel was dispersed after 44 kings. We have the United States is at its 44th president. All of this is connected to these that believe themselves to be Israel, what they're going to plan on committing, as Ephraim should be planted in a pleasant place while he brings his children to the murder. It has a double-fold meaning. Ephraim bringing his children of the nation to the murder, which means us. We're the children within this nation that he plans to sacrifice. But at the same time, Ephraim's children are these members that have been indoctrinated into these secret societies. They're going to bring them to the murderer that's going to be in association with this ray on the moon. Anyway, guys, take a good look. Take a good look and understand what my abilities are and what I've been entrusted to bring and do, and know that I'm trying to save people's lives, that I'm trying to warn them against this destruction that's going to come, and it's going to come. And we know who's doing it. We know where they're going to go. So their plan is already failing, and that's why they're attacking me, and they even plan to destroy me. Well, no problem. They have planned to destroy and have even destroyed in the physical many like me before. I tried the same path. I'm prepared for it. I'm prepared for it in Jesus Christ's name. So thanks everybody for listening. I'll be back.